Look! Look, the dynamic duo!
Hey, listen, welcome to the Dynamic Duo. I'm Franz.
I'm Kevin. Welcome to the new Batcave and Avengers Tower, everybody.
Kevin, my friend, lots of topics, lots of things to talk about. What do you want to talk about next?
The upcoming What If series.
Okay. I know you're excited about that.
It was recently reported in the press, and I saw a small blurb about it on Entertainment Tonight a few days ago. Marvel is returning at least 50 to 60 of their primary on-camera talent to give their voices back to these characters for this series. I think this thing is going to blow everybody away. I truly do.
Here's my take on that. But I think the number might have been like 71 or whatever. And interestingly enough, apparently they're not bringing Dave Bautista back as one of the voices. I don't know if you read about that. So there's some contract.
Didn't know that. No, I had no idea.
Yeah, so Dave Bautista, who plays Drax the Destroyer, he's been a little bit vocal. He was supportive of Scarlett Johansson, and he had made some statements. So speculation aside, the fact is he's not being brought back as a guest voice actor for the What If series. And the What If series for me I'm a little bit torn about the What If series. And on the one hand, I'm very excited about it, as you are, because the quality looks good, the subjects look interesting, and it looks good. And so they're bringing the actors, and so I think Marvel is going to bring a certain level of quality to it. That's going to be great. My trepidation of it is that if it's great, it's like, I wish instead of What If, give me the real thing and make it great. So if I love it, then I'm loving Captain America Britain, which is not a character that I know, care about, or love. You know what I mean? It's like, so as good as it looks, my excitement is tempered by the fact that it's going to be an alternative What If series rather than the actual thing. And I just wish that they delivered. Let me put it this way. It would be that much more exciting to me if instead of What If, it was classic Marvel. And so if you can imagine, Kevin, if we were reinterpreting some of the classic Marvel storylines that we know will not make it to the big screen. So like, for example, not the coming of Galactus, but you could do so many stories from the Fantastic Four that won't make it to the big screen. So many stories of the X-Men that we know won't make it. And you take these little gems and you do those instead of What If. I'd be much more excited about that. You know, that's the way I feel about
it. Again, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record. I do agree with you on several different levels. My problem, if there is a problem to be had with the upcoming show, my problem is that it's also been reported, and I'm not quite sure how they're going to do that, that the animated show is going to somehow fill gaps within the cinematic MCU. And they're allowing pieces of it to cross over, and I think that's a mistake. Okay?
How would it be? Because if it's What If, how would they even do that? Because if it's What If, it's not even real.
That's my point exactly. You're taking material and you're kind of forcing it along, because although Marvel has been fabulous at this, they want everything to be tied together in one gigantic universe, okay? Or one gigantic quilt or thread, which by itself is fine, but at the same time, and again, this may not make complete sense, I think they're starting to damage themselves by taking every character and linking every character to every other character and scenario. Because I think that's going to be the problem in Shang-Chi. I truly do. I think that's going to be one of the troubles with that movie. And the Shang-Chi material is completely different, and although he was part of Marvel and what have you, he's not a direct superhero. But it's been said that Shang-Chi is going to somehow be tied to the rest of the movie universe, and it's like, I'm not sure that works.
On this point, I agree on some points and I disagree on other points. One of the things that I loved about the Marvel comic universe was that connection. It was a fascinating thing that, and we talked about this with some of our guests on the show, how Marvel was able to create a cohesive one unit universe where something would be happening in Iron Fist and it would be referenced in a Hulk comic book. And the thing is, if you didn't read that Iron Fist comic book, you wouldn't know that. Like, you wouldn't know. You were just reading a Hulk comic book. But if you read the two, you realize, oh my God, that happened. The reason why the car was flipped over was because whatever. Right. So I thought that was cool. And I don't mind them doing that necessarily in the cinematic verse. Having said that, I do agree with you that if you're going to try to do it with things like What If, there's a problem, because What If is not even an alternate universe for those who don't know. What If is literally that. It's what if. It's like, hey, what if Spider-Man got hit by gamma ray? And it's just a conceptual sort of, hey, type of idea. So there's no realism whatsoever to the What If universe. So I don't know how then you connect that to any kind of real connected, MCU. As far as Shang-Chi, it's interesting, again, that you and I are on the same page, because there's always the question of what is a superhero and what is not a superhero. And I never felt that Shang-Chi was quite a superhero. I always felt the same way. It's funny that you bring it up, because yeah, he was in the universe. He was in the Marvel universe. He interacted with Spider-Man. I just never. And he wore that kimono, that gi, with certain kind of costumes. For me, the primary factor that determines a superhero is your costume, and I just never gave him credit for being a superhero. And what's interesting about Shang-Chi, and I don't know if we want to talk about it and switch the conversation, but I have my reservations about Shang-Chi because there's nothing about the movie that I recognize from, the comic book that I knew,
Two quick things. Let's be honest. Even though the Shang-Chi issues were good in their own way or great in others, depending on how you viewed them, the Shang-Chi character and comics were Marvel's answer to Bruce Lee from the 60s and early 70s.
Absolutely.
A number of people that I've heard talk about what Marvel was doing back then, including Stan Lee himself, basically said that Bruce Lee was so popular and powerful back then, which of course led to the Kung Fu TV series and then the Kung Fu movie craze from that point, that Marvel felt we got to get in on this, and that's how they did it.
Absolutely.
I agree with you completely, even though I'm glad that Shang-Chi is being done as a movie. It's not the Shang-Chi that I remember. And I mentioned this to you on the phone the other day. It looks like a standard martial arts movie with the ninjas coming out of the walls and that kind of thing. And I'm not so sure that the young man who's playing Shang-Chi should even be in the role, because to me, Shang-Chi was an older drawn and older looking character in their own way, because he was based on Bruce Lee to a degree. they kind of tried to capture Bruce's image. And I still think that the way he was conceived and the way he was put together, he was older. And I don't know if the actor that they've chosen for the lead even looks the part because of his own features. He doesn't look old enough to even be Shang-Chi.
Yeah. For me, it's not the age, and we talked about this before. For me, it's not the age that bothers me so much, but it's the features. You're right. He doesn't look like Shang-Chi. He doesn't. There's nothing about him that I say, oh, that's Shang-Chi. There's nothing about him that I say that's Shang-Chi. Of course, that's a difficult thing to do, and it's not. Oftentimes, you don't have to necessarily look like the person. It's the delivery or whatever. It's the caricature. It's the caricature. Tony Stark has to have that mustache, and he has to, you know what I mean? Captain America has to have a straight haircut. It's almost like a caricature of a character. And because he can't have any of those caricatures, the hair and the gi, and because he can't have it, he's just that much more separated from Shang-Chi to me. And so, I want the movie to do well. I do want the movie to do well, and I am going to go see it as a matter of supporting it, supporting diversity, supporting alternative. I think that it's great to have an Asian superhero. I really do, and I want to support it the same way I would have asked any community to support Black Panther for those reasons, beyond the fact that I love Black Panther as a character and a superhero, and I love the superhero genre. But for representation reasons, yeah, I love that Marvel did a Black Panther movie, and I'm loving that they're doing a Shang-Chi movie to represent the Asian community, particularly given all the sort of hatred that they've faced recently with the whole coronavirus and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna support it. But between you and me, I'm not exactly excited, and I don't exactly expect too much things. Another last pet peeve that I have about Shang-Chi, and I guess this segment of the show is about Shang-Chi, but putting Shang-Chi in a cave against the Abomination tells me that you don't quite understand the power dynamics at all. Like, you just don't.
I'm sorry for laughing, but the truth was never spoken so well. you can't do that. I mean, the Hulk has trouble with him, and you're going to put Shang-Chi up against it?
And it's one thing to put Shang-Chi up against Abomination, where, in a city, where he could run away from Abomination and shoot him with a gun or something. But in a cage? Like, come on. Not Abomination. Pick anybody else, not Abomination.
I will be nice to them, and like you, I'll support it. But the fact is, there are two other things. One, they've got Awkwafina in the movie for comic relief. That's a mistake. Okay?
Yeah.
End of story. That's a mistake.
Yeah.
And two, I will give them a little bit of an extra prop. Okay, in terms of giving them credit. If they even give me a 10-second scene, even if it's supposed to be from the past, with him sitting in a dojo somewhere in the gate.
Yeah.
In the road. If they do that, which I doubt. And I know that what we're talking about is speculation because nobody has seen it yet. If they do that, I will give them an extra point. If they don't, they'll get zeros from me all the way across the board.
This looks like a job for Superman.
Hey, look! It's Spider-Man!
The dynamic duo return next week. Don't listen.